people to get that passionate and talk about it, do you hope it's something they like? Yes, but even if it's something that they're just getting so passionate and they feel it's worth talking about, that to me is elevating what reviews can be and should be.
Everybody, how you doing? Korey here, and yes, that's right. You know what time it is. Say it with me, everybody. It's the middle of the day. You know, I'm a nighttime person. We do our shows pretty late. So I'm in the middle of the day, kind of earlier in the day. That's right, talking to somebody special. And this is pretty special to me. This is somebody that started doing reviews and creating content around the same time that I was. They might have done a little bit earlier, but somebody I've always wanted to meet, and it's taken about, I don't know, 14 years to get around to that. But hey, man, we're finally here, and I am honored to be talking to someone that kind of, I don't know, you could say influenced me in a way, Mr. Doug Walker. Doug, how you doing, man?
Good, man. That was a good sucking my dick you did there, man. That was really nice.
Yeah, did it feel good, man? Did I finish?
Oh, no, I love it. My ego can't get bigger, man. I always take it all.
Yes, no, man. So apparently so did I. But how you doing, man? It's good
I want to say, too, before we start, I've been watching you guys, too. I was telling you before we started, whenever I talk about the movie Cats, I still do that sound that guy does in the trailer where he gets really close to the camera and goes, ow, like that, just based on how many times you guys played that over and over. I'm like, oh my God, that's like my new favorite scene from that movie. There's a lot of stuff you can take away and have fun with in that movie, but that's become my official favorite because of you guys. So thank you so much for pointing out how amazing just that 1 second of footage is.
Well, if I have had any influence on Doug Walker at all, then that means a lot to me. That is truly an honor. People, you know Doug Walker. He's been an internet personality, a creator, influenced a lot of people. You know him as the Nostalgia Critic, creative channel Awesome. That guy with glasses is when I first kind of saw his stuff and got hooked. So a lot of monikers over here, and I'm just gonna talk about your career today, man. I mean, like I said, you've been doing this since 2007, maybe a little bit earlier.
Yeah, man, I don't even know. I try to add up like the years, like in my head. So I know I'm at 14 years. So whatever that is. Again, I don't math, so it sounds right, though. 2007, 2006, something like that.
Yeah, I remember you doing, when I found you online, I found you when you were, the first clip I saw, you were doing a bum character, man.
Oh, yeah. Oh, just a bum. God bless you. Thank you.
I used to love those, man. Let me show people just a little bit of a clip. You might have heard Doug doing the voice right here. Doug, do that again.
Oh, just a little bit of chistery bum here. I do my own videos for the internet, and I just give my thoughts on whatever movie I see, which is always the greatest movie I've ever seen in my life.
And I've either won you over or lost you based on that voice. It's a very polarizing character.
Well, you won me over with it.
So the Joker makes a video? Only it's not a funny video. He is slowly torturing someone to death. Whew. I think I suddenly remember why I'm afraid of clouds. I mean...
You know, I remember watching that, man, and I used to love those videos. Like I said, you were doing skits and characters, and your content was, it evolves over years. It was a little different from what it is today back then. How do you think overall in the environment that you're creating in, how do you think the landscape has changed, man? And how do you think that you've changed along with it?
Oh, to pull out an old character, that's a very good question. It really is, because it does change, and sometimes you get to it before the change. Like, I feel like I kind of came into this just at the right time. I never deny that a lot of luck wasn't involved, but there is a lot of hard work in trying to stay either ahead of what people are talking about or catching up to what's popular. Mm-hmm. And again, when you're doing this, I mean, you've been doing this for a long time as well. Sometimes you're ahead of the game, sometimes you're behind, sometimes you're just at the right spot. And you have to be aware of that, I think, but you don't let it rule you. I think that's my cat wants to come up here.
Well,
sorry,
like you said, let's let the cat and the dog interview each other right after this.
Yeah, right. We're going to do the interview like this, man. They're going to interview each other. It's great talking about like the long history and the art of making videos while there's this cat in your lap. And there he went. Okay, maybe he didn't want to hang out here. He's a cat. That's what they do. Anyway, back to being very sophisticated. But yeah, like, so in the old days, it used to be very much, especially with reviews, it used to be characters and comedy. That was the big focus. Nowadays, it seems to be personality and information. And you could replace personality with passion as well. Characters, there are people that still do characters here and there. I definitely do like a character with the Nostalgia Critic, but it seems to be much more someone really getting into something and telling you information maybe you didn't know about it and having a passion for it as well, because I think that's something you can't fake. You can't really fake passion for something. And fortunately, even from the beginning, I always had a passion to talk about movies. I have a passion for comedy, so I feel like I always want to work comedy into it somehow, because I think, I mean, you're on Rotten Tomatoes, you've talked with other critics and stuff like that. Like, some of the best people I've ever met are critics. Some of the worst people I've ever met are critics, too. They can just be so, self-important and stuck up. No. If you don't agree with me, you're damaging film. You're damaging the art of film. And I think when you incorporate comedy into that, it shows, no, we're offering ideas. We're offering something that's fun and should never be taken too seriously. I always enjoy when someone disagrees with me about something, because you find out about the person. Like, if I hate something and somebody else loves it, I love asking, well, why do you like it? And you can really find out about them. And that's what I think is so much fun about doing reviews. And I think more and more people are discovering that through the different points of views and different ways they can express those point of views in videos and reviews.
And here you are as the Nostalgia Critic. Of course, that's probably one of your most iconic characters that you play right there. Really, you have created a character that has become a personality and a visual icon, man. You definitely put yourself out there. A lot of people are like, oh, that guy. Yeah, I know that guy right there. I found this video because we're talking about how some of this was luck, some of this was passion. I'd like to follow up with that in a little bit, but I found this video of you, and probably people have seen this all over the internet. I don't know how I missed it, but it's a video of you quitting your job.
That's the first video I ever did. Yep.
First video you've ever done. So this is you. I like to ask you more about the job and everything, and how, and then moving on to making a living at what you're doing right now. But let me show people a little bit of this video where you are getting up in front of your coworkers. You have a big boom box.
Yep.
And you were making a big dramatic announcement of how you are quitting that day. Was the job that bad that you had to make that much of an announcement?
So here's the funny thing about, there's a couple things about that. So I'm really known as two things. I'm known as the Nostalgia Critic, or that guy that quit his job in that crazy way. If you go to, like, the news, I don't know, like CNN, 2020, they'll always play this at least once a year. And you can see people are laughing there and stuff. They, like, chase us out at the end and everything. It was the first video I ever did for two reasons. One, the job was really not that bad, but there was a guy who was always trying to get me fired. He actually got the last, because it was just a janitor job. It's not even like that big a responsibility. But the guy I was working with got the last 3 people who worked with him fired, saying, oh, they're lazy, they don't do their job or anything. And I saw him trying to do the same thing with me. So that was a little bit more for him, to sort of be like, to you and everything. But the other thing, too, was after that point, because I just graduated college at that point, and I said, whatever I do, I wanted to be something in a field I enjoy, whether it's, at the time I was an illustrator, I was going to illustration, and whether it was illustration or doing what I'm doing now, online videos or comedy or performing or directing, whatever. I really wanted it to be something creative. So it's one of the few times where I really burned a bridge. I would not usually advise that, honestly. Usually want to keep your options open. But this also shows, I'm kind of a creative loon, as well, and that I kind of have no fear and I'll go into something and I'm not... You see people laughing there and having fun too. I'm not being like mean. So I thought this was a good way to kind of launch me into something, whatever it was going to be, just something creative. Yeah, I'll call the police and some of them are chasing me out. But and the great irony is, years later, they invite me to conventions to say hi to fans and interact with them and stuff. I did a convention at a convention center right across from that place. And man, if that doesn't come full circle. I did go into the place because I was a little afraid. I didn't know how they would react, but it was across from there. And I'm like, all right, that's kind of neat.
What was the job?
It was just a janitor job. It was like at a car factory. And again, the job itself wasn't that bad. It was more a reaction to the dude who was trying to get me fired. And everybody was telling me, like, yeah, he got the last 3 or 4 people fired because they said he needed help with it because he was an older dude, and they said like he fell asleep on the job and stuff like that. So they're like, okay, you need help with this job, but I think it cut into his pay, so he kept trying to get everyone that worked with him fired, and he succeeded except for me. I just
So never any further exchange with the guy that you had this thing with, the guy that wanted to get you fired?
No, I don't even remember his name.
Hey, you say that some of this is luck. Some of this is passion. So what part of your success do you consider to be luck? And what part of it do you consider to be hard work and passion?
Definitely the beginning was luck, that I came in at just the right time with just the right character, talking about just the right subject. Because I was going through like a nostalgic phase that I think everybody goes through. And as we've seen, a lot of people can make a living at too. Even Hollywood, man. I mean, nothing's like original. It's all based on something now. But even there, taking it and kind of twisting it around, almost turning it into something original and something new. So there's respect for that, certainly. But yeah, early on, I say was definitely had the most luck in there. But you've seen, I mean, again, you're on the internet, you're on YouTube, you've seen people explode and then just vanish.
Yeah.
And that's something where I think you do need to be adaptable. You do need to keep putting out a lot of material, or at least understand what your fan base is looking for, or if the fan base is starting to change, do you change with them? Do you stay the same? And it's a balance. I mean, all of it, I think, is trying to maintain that balance, really.
I don't want to keep going back to the quit your job video, but this is just a
Sure.
and it's not even a question about that moment in particular, but it's more about when you knew that you could make a living doing what you do now. Was when you did this at your job, did you know that you would be able to make a living on the internet, or was this before that?
Oh, this was a good year and a half before that. I mean, honestly, in terms of making a living, it's probably a good 2 years, maybe before that. I'd have to look at the exact date. But no, I was going into illustration. So that really was something. I wasn't burning the bridge because I'm like, well, I'm all set here. I got a YouTube channel, and I'm making people laugh. This is going to be my living. No, that was literally the first video I ever did. I don't even think you could make a living on YouTube at the time. And in between that and Nostalgia Critic, I did these videos called 5-second movies, where I would just take a movie like, The Matrix in 5 seconds. It'd be him going, whoa. And that's it, like the end. Or the Titanic in 5 seconds. This ship can't sink. It sinks. The end. That was it. And again, I was doing that for fun, and it exploded. I mean, a lot of people were looking at it. And again, it was something that people hadn't done yet, but I'm sure somebody would have picked up eventually. Again, luck. I was in the right place at the right time with the right idea. But I kept going. I knew I had an audience, and they kept coming back. So I'm like, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do with this yet, but this is important. And I have fun doing it. So I kept doing them. I eventually transitioned over to Nostalgia Critic. And yeah, it just kind of spiraled from there. But no, I was going into something that honestly did not have a great track record for making a very good living. I was going to freelance illustration. And again, I loved it, but I wasn't making a great living at it. So it's one of those things where because I did really like it and I knew I'd be more angry if I didn't try it to try to turn it into a living, give it a shot. But I knew it could fail. I knew I may have to find something else. But this was my way of saying, no, try something creative. Force yourself to do something creative. And because there's this video now that shows you quitting like an asshole. So it's got to be something that's creative. So someone can look at that and that can be a good thing, not a bad thing.
Yeah, no, I don't know why I've never seen that video. Maybe I haven't, just never associated with you.
A lot of people don't know it's me. I mean, God, I have hair in it. The hair is very spiky, which I didn't really have years later. More people are looking at my chest than my face. So it's very understandable how people don't recognize me in it.
I watch a lot of bad movies now. We kind of just accidentally took that turn. Every Tuesday we sit down and we roast bad movies with people.
Fun, right?
It's amazing, man. And the thing is that, okay, so you have covered a lot of bad movies either as Nostalgia Critic or as Doug Walker. We recently watched a movie that you had a popular video over.
I think I'm in love.
I adore this movie.
How does this only have 50% on Rotten Tomatoes?
Oh, it's less than that. It was like 12, something like that.
This
like,
movie.
No, this is a masterpiece.
This is some of the most gorgeously refined garbage I have ever seen.
Sleepwalkers, right? That's
Sleepwalkers.
The movie, right?
The thing is, man, I love Sleepwalkers, and it's weird because I see these movies. And it's just kind of changed my perspective over the years. I can't speak for everybody out there, but I'm ashamed to say that I think that maybe I started out as somewhat of, I don't think completely 100%, but somewhat of a snobby kind of person that critique movies.
Totally, yeah, me too, man.
So we've all kind of gone through it, and I admit it. But after there are a lot of movies that I've watched over and over and over again. I've suddenly realized that I've watched more bad movies over and over again than probably good movies, and it just changed my perspective on, even with movies that I'm forced to admit that they're not well made, they're bad or whatever, by whatever standard, but somebody created something that gave someone entertainment. So I might critique it in a way that I have to say certain things, but I still have respect for the artists or the creators. In other words, it's just kind of changed my perspective over the years. Because I appreciate these movies, even on that for what they do. Has watching bad movies, particularly the bad movies, do you feel like that's changed you for the better, changed you as a person, as a professional, as a critic?
Again, that really is a good question. Because it does sound bizarre, but it has. And if you want the best example of that, I mean, this movie's a masterpiece. This is a brilliant movie. Ed Wood, I think, is the perfect film to go to for that, because here's a guy that made just famously bad movies that just brought people so much joy, and he had a passion for making them, but it made people laugh because they were so awful. And it's one of those things where you kind of look at the dude, at least the way he's portrayed in the movie, and he might be okay with that. I mean, you don't know. I don't think he was alive when when the resurgence came, for his work, and people had fun laughing at it. But yeah, that's one of the reasons I think comedy is so important in what we do. Because I think at the end of the day, it's not pointing out why you should hate stuff. It's pointing out why you should have a lust for all sorts of different types of art, and even quote unquote bad art can bring so much joy. I mean, certainly, I'm sure you've seen like The Room and these Birdemic and a lot of these famous bad movies, but they bring so much joy. And there really are people that just take film and art and everything just a little too seriously, where you feel like it's sucking the joy out of something than giving the joy. A friend of mine, again, a good friend of mine who's a critic, actually got me to Roger Ebert's memorial, which was like, wow, oh my God, because that's like one of my favorite critics of all time. And I'm really not kidding. It was filled with critics, obviously, big surprise. They were critiquing the memorial. Like, that's insane to me. And I remember that this one director went out and told this really nice story, and she was really cool and down to earth. And I saw some of these critic King Garrett's like, yeah, who is that one girl who wouldn't shut up? And I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't believe they were talking like that. So I saw this director and I went up to her and we chatted for a little bit. And I said, what you said was really cool and how Roger Ebert kind of helped you out and everything. And she was, like I said, so down to earth and so friendly and cool and everything. And years later, I found out that director was Ava DuVernay. Is that how you say her name?
Yeah.
Her last name?
DuVernay, yeah.
The person that went on to direct Selma and 13. And I just get a feeling now those critics look back, they'd be like, well, now they would listen to her, of course, because, you know, she's a big name and everything. But, like, you know, back then she was that girl who wouldn't shut up. And there really are people who just want to critique everything and suck the joy out of it for whatever reason. I don't know if they're insecure, if they think it's their responsibility to do so. But I really think there's something to that joy and that passion to what you do, even if it's getting joy out of something you know is kind of bad. You can still get joy out of it. Like, I know not all my work is great, you know, by no stretch of the imagination. But if people can watch it and still get joy out of it or discuss it, even if someone's watching a review I did that they're saying, well, this is bad and here's why, they're reviewing the review. They're seeing it as a work of art. Even if it's bad art, they're seeing it as a work of art. And I do think reviews are kind of a form of art as well. They said movies aren't art, and that was proven wrong. They said video games aren't art. That was proven wrong. And I think reviews can also be art in their own strange way. So I don't know. I like that you can review a production with a production, and even that can be reviewed. I kind of love that. I love this weird circle and this experimenting with it.
No, nice, man. And that's actually a cool story about this whole Roger Ebert thing and Ava DuVernay. I mean, it really does show how people are just, even the smartest people, especially I see this within the critic circles, they really are sheep, man. I mean, I hate using that term, but a lot.
I never want to go quite. I never want to go quite that far because, like I said, some of my closest friends are critics and wonderful people. I mean, Brad Jones. You know Brad Jones. I mean, a phenomenal.
Brad is awesome,
being.
And I'm not talking about all critics, man. I'm not. No, not at all. Yeah, I'm just saying.
I know what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about. I think part of it is when you do get in that bubble, you know, of people that, ooh, my opinion matters. I have this power now. Ooh, you know, and I'm sure you and I, like we said, we started off as kind of these film snobs as well. If a movie's bad, well, we were insulted. You know, we didn't always find the joy in it. But, you know, now seeing more and more, you can really get a lot of joy out of it. And I think that's wonderful.
Yeah. And let me clarify, because I didn't want that to come across as sounding snobby itself or demeaning. No, I've noticed, I think that's why I appreciate the internet and internet critics coming up, because there was always this feeling that a large number of people felt like, well, I have to review a movie this way because I don't want to look bad amongst all the other critics. I feel like I have to say this and give this movie a rating because it's either going to make me seem not as smart, or I'm going to seem like a sellout, or I'm going to seem like those lowly other people who like anything. You know, I've seen so many reviews where people have like bent backwards to find something good to say about a certain movie just because I think they felt like it was what they were supposed to say instead of what they actually felt like sincerely.
Yeah. Well, and then you get into the tricky category where you're talking about something that maybe you don't know a ton on the subject matter, or if it's about a person that, like, you know, you didn't grow up as, or you didn't have that upbringing, you can't act like, well, that's not realistic. It's like, no, you don't know. So then you kind of critique, well, is the movie doing a good job making you understand that or pull you into it? So there is kind of this level where, there is this expectancy for you to kind of know everything, and sometimes it's okay to say, I don't know. You know, I can give the movie the benefit of the doubt because, you know, whatever, it was shot well or acted well, but there are some things that, you know, you as a critic, you're not going to know everything. And my opinion can definitely change about movies over the year. There's some movies I hated and now I love, or I love and now I hate, you know. So that's something, too, I think is very important to talk about. I could be wrong. I think Siskel and Ebert even did a show. I could be wrong. Movies they changed their minds on.
Oh, I'm sure they did.
Yes, this can happen. You know, we're not, we have a degree, so we know what's right and wrong. It's like, no, it's all subjective. It's art. And that's what's so great about it. There are so many different points of view.
No, that's great. And by the way, Brad, speaking of, just somebody who I appreciate just for loving movies, just for loving them. Brad is calling me all the time and telling me about some crazy ass movie that I didn't even know was out or released, and I watch it, and it's such a gift. It really is like he gave me a gift of this thing I didn't know existed, man. There's been about 3 or 4 movies that he told me about, and I watched them, and I would have never have known about them if Brad didn't tell me, and I always appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I love it too. I love it when someone like is gonna introduce me to something and they're kind of giggling, like, I can't wait till you see this. Like, sometimes that's the best kind of joy you can get. And even with a really great movie, I mean, a movie that can touch you and move you and just like, like to tears, sometimes there's still something a little more unique and fun about something that's bad that just makes you giggle in just the right way, like just really hits your funny bone just perfectly.
Hey, you and I have, now this is what really has drawn me to you. You and I have something in common, something that is near and dear to me. We both love the animator Don Bluth.
Yeah, I'm actually, what a great still to freeze on for him. It looks like he's like, yeah, just...
Yeah, sure. What? No, it's part of the clip here. I'll show some of the clip. It just happened to be the first frame of that clip. I wasn't trying to frame you in a bad way.
After watching my reviews of some of your films, why haven't you killed me yet?
Why haven't we? You know what? It's just the reverse, Doug. If you really want to know the truth, it's reverse. I have taken such a liking to your cutting style that I'm trying to get that in everything we do now. I love the way you're cutting.
That's a huge compliment coming from that guy, man. I love Don Bluth. I fell in love with Don Bluth. First of all, I wanted to be an animator when I was young, and I loved video games when I was young. And watching this former Disney animator come in and do this video game, Dragon's Lair, it just made me fall in love with him, man, and his work. Even though not all of his work, it's for me. Not all of his work is for me. Not all of his movies I like, but I do love him as an artist. What is it about Don Bluth that drew you to him and his films? Is it because, well, you know what, I'll ask you in a little bit about your art, but what is it that drew you to Don Bluth?
Perfect timing for this too, because I'm literally reviewing a Don Bluth movie right now, like one of his best ones. I'll say what it is. It's American Tail. And that's another nice thing about this too, because we were talking about enjoying bad movies, but now the landscape, because I've been doing it for so many years, people are kind of enjoying more when I say what's good about a movie, and that one have flown like whatever 10, 12 years ago, and they're like, oh no, scream and yell and everything, but now people seem to really be liking me get passionate about a film and say what I like about still incorporating comedy. So I'm trying that with more films that I can really, really talk about. American Tail is one of them. Mm-hmm. And the big thing for me, I think, is that Bluth, even though they are family films and you can show them to kids and everything, he treated kids with respect, and he was not afraid to go to those really dark, creepy places that are going to scare you. But by the time you get to the end, you're happy you went through that. I mean, I think, just for me personally, I think that's an important thing for kids to realize and understand, that it's not all happy rainbows and everything. I mean, there is some dark, creepy stuff. I mean, Grimm's fairy tales, most of them are cautionary tales about horrible things like wolves eating people and people being chopped up and thrown in ovens and stuff like that. But there's the happy ending, so it's okay. But there's this great creativity in the dark stuff as well that he could explore, but he could switch it around so well and make those happy moments with characters that had big, cute eyes and little friendly mice and stuff suddenly seem so valuable and so treasured because they got through this stuff. One of my favorite characters is Mrs. Brisby from Secret of Nim. And, she doesn't wield around a sword or do flips or say cool one-liners. She's a mother who wants to save her kid, and she's terrified of everything in there, as she would be, but she confronts it. She goes in there, and she's one of my favorite characters for that. Like, to me, that's like one of the great heroes. So I think the fact that he can find that stuff and he can go to those dark places, but he can still balance it out with these really warm, genuine moments that just feel earned. They really feel like earned, warm moments. It doesn't feel sappy. It doesn't feel corny. It feels perfectly balanced.
No, That's, I guess, when I think about it, because I just love the animation. But I remember before Dragon's Lair was out, there was The Secret of Nim, and I used to love this movie, man. I love this movie so much. I think I learned how to draw. That's one of the things I love Don Bluth for. I learned how to draw watching his films. Secret of Nim, my mother actually forbid me from watching this for a couple of days because I was coming in from school every day and wearing the VHS tape out that I recorded this from and just trying to learn how to draw in his style. And she actually thought I was mentally ill because I was just coming in and watching this every day. And she just made me go outside one day. She said, no, don't put on those damn mice. Go on outside, ride a bike, climb a tree or something. So it's cool to hear that you have a funness.
That's how you do it, though. You look at what you like, you try to emulate the style, and then you add your own unique spin to it.
Yeah.
Sometimes just combining all sorts of different styles and art forms can create a whole new art form.
Yeah, and that is so true, man. Because that's exactly what I felt that I did with that. Another thing that that I think you and I have in common. I'm not sure about this one, but this is something else that had a huge influence on my art and how I even approached other things outside of drawing or animating. Here's a video where you're talking about Looney Tunes, but in this video, and I'd seen this before, this video that you did, and one of the things that stood out to me was what you were wearing in the video.
What surprised me about this episode is that it's directed by Chuck Jones, which is not a surprise. His style is all over it, but it was also directed by Maurice Noble.
I noticed that you were wearing a Gorillaz shirt in there.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if you're a fan of Gorillaz or if you just like the shirt.
I mean, especially if artists, people that can draw and stuff like that, how can you not love Gorillaz? I mean, it's like the music's fantastic, but it's almost secondary to that weird world they create and the atmosphere and the environment and the great designs they have and everything. I mean, there's such personality to those drawings, and just what a cool idea that you can form a band around these drawings. I mean, as far as I know, it's never been done before. Maybe the Banana Splits
or the Archies or
Jabberjaw.
Yeah.
Definitely not that.
Yeah. I look at the stuff that you like, Don Bluth, Gorillaz, and I share those same loves with you. And I showed some of this earlier, and I hope I did not get it wrong. Is it because you're an artist, and is this your art that I found here?
Yeah, that's mine. I used to go under, when I thought I would be a YouTuber and an illustrator, I wanted the name Doug Darien.
Yeah.
So I was just like, okay, well, that'll be like my compromise. So, I'll see which one picks up, which one does well. And, the YouTube stuff picked up faster and paid more.
Yeah.
So I decided to do that. And I'm trying to get a little bit back into it a bit more. Like I'm even changing my style a little bit. I'm working on one side project that does involve drawings. But, it's always... I always say if YouTube didn't take off, like, what's your dream job? It'd either be just doing exactly what I'm doing now, or some kind of illustration, like either doing like kids' books or comic strips, something like that.
Yeah, no, I hear you. No, it's nice work, man. I like your colors in there a lot. So have you ever done animation before?
Like flip books,
okay.
when I was a little kid, and I think the very, very bare minimum where it's like I'll have a character who's posed like this and the mouth will go like this and then they'll think like this and the mouth will go like that. I mean, like I literally edit on like Photoshop and Adobe Premiere. I mean, that's not how you should do animation, but that was just the fast way I would do it if I couldn't get, if I wanted to get a point across with a cartoon, it'd be faster if I did a cartoon. That's how I did it. So I don't think that counts, but I have a great respect for people that get into it. I mean, especially if I was to draw on a tablet right now, I couldn't do that. I've been out of it way too long.
Well, your art is nice, man. It was at the time when you were doing it. So you said you were a freelance illustrator. So what were you illustrating at the time?
So my biggest claim to fame, I think you can still find this. It was a children's vending machine, I think called All American Chicken. It's one of those things that drops out a little egg that has like a toy in it. And I designed the vending machine for that. And then I think like the background graphics for like their website, which last I checked, I think it was still up. I think it's, and I did actually see it at a hotel once. I'm like, oh my God, I designed this, holy shit. Because half the stuff you do, you don't know if it's ever going to see the light of day. But that was like the biggest thing I did. So it shows you I wasn't like mad successful. Yep, there it is.
Is that it?
Yep, that's it. So again, it wasn't something where I was like mad successful at it, but it was enough to, kind of pay the bills a little bit. Like it was growing. So it's one of those things where I would do like little illustrations, like just little side jobs for books and sometimes kids' books or even like adult books. Like I never did like porn, but there was one that had like, they were all like analogies for other things, like have a woman holding 2 melons. I'm like, okay, like everything had like and that was the joke of the book is you read it and then you turn the page and you see it's like literally what they're saying is on the page kind of thing, show a woman touching her pussy. It's literally her petting a cat, something like that. So so not the highest end art, but it was fun and I liked trying to give a client what they were looking for, and I love doing sketches and hearing, is there anything you want changed? Does this color work? Does this style work? So it was fun. I really did enjoy it.
You got a lot of so you're multi-talented, man. Got a lot of things that you do. Do a lot of people know that you were an illustrator at this point? Because you're known for YouTube and your online personality. Do a lot of people, are they surprised to learn that you are were an illustrator at one time?
Yes and no. Some people know, some don't. Like I've talked about, it wasn't like a big kept secret, but it's also not the focus of what I do.
Yeah.
And drawings do work their way in sometimes to the videos as well.
Yeah.
So, so some do, some don't.
You've done this long enough to the point where, as with anybody who becomes popular, especially to the level that you have, you've been a point of criticism, anywhere from parody to actual criticism. There's someone that people might know this person. Oni Plays. People have given you some slight ribbing. People have teased you a little bit, mocked you in a fun way.
Of course. Yeah.
Here's someone doing your scream. This is Oni Plays doing your scream.
Do Doug Walker yelling.
and you've always had a good sense of humor about.
Like when I really scream loud, I mean, it really does sound like that.
And so you like we see right now, you have a good sense of sense of humor about it, man.
And how hypocritical would it be if I'm like, look at this person who doesn't appreciate my art when I literally make a living mocking people's art? Like, how hypocritical would that be? But on top of that, it's just funny.
Yeah.
Like, that's always the thing. It's okay if I'm the punchline to something. It just has to be funny. And what I've seen, I'll admit, I haven't seen a ton. My brother showed me, like, little clips and compilations and stuff like that. What I've seen, it is funny.
Yeah, I guess that's what matters, right? And it's like you said, it's always great to have a sense of humor about it.
Well, yeah, and if you're going into this field, any kind of field of entertainment, honestly, to be liked and be praised 24/7, this is not the right field, man. You're putting yourself out there, and I always tell people, and it sounds so obvious, but it really is the number one thing. Anyone that wants to go into entertainment, YouTube, anything like that, I say number one, most important, do it because you love it. Because I got into this not knowing you can make a living at it. When I got into it, you couldn't make a living at it. I was doing it just because it was fun. And that way, if a living does come out of it, if money does come out of it, and fans and so forth, you appreciate it all the more. If you're doing it for fame and attention and, to make a living and stuff like that, even if you get that stuff, you're not going to be happy. Because you should be doing what you really enjoy. If it fails, if it goes nowhere, even if I tried 5-second movies, Nostalgia Critic, bum reviews, and nobody ever saw it, 5 people saw it, I'd still be like, but that's fun to me. I had a good time, so I don't regret it, even if nobody saw it. So the idea that people can watch something and enjoy it, hate it, mock it, laugh with it, laugh at it, whatever, is amazing to me, because I didn't expect any of that to happen. I was doing this because it's fun. So it's really one of those things where if somebody does it in a fun way and a clever way, in a way that's funny, why wouldn't I have fun with that. Like, I'm living the dream right now. I'm making a living doing what I love. And if someone wants to come around and make some jokes at that, please do. Just make them funny. And I think he makes them funny.
You know, well then, so that's somebody just poking fun, and that's cool. We can all have fun with that. What's it like when you get around to other harsher forms of criticisms? You know, like one of the videos that you got, I guess, criticized for the most was your review for Pink Floyd's The Wall. Tons of fans out there of that film, tons of Pink Floyd fans out there. You know, that came in, and that one was where people really did go out their way to make videos critiquing The Wall. Here's one from here, Folding Ideas. They came in to review your video of your critique of The Wall.
What's missing at the core is any sense of motivation. You get to the end and have no idea why this was the form this product should take. Why make a straight reproduction of pretty much 50% of the entire film? Why make a complete companion album? Why put this much effort into a video about a subject that you just don't seem to have any substantive opinions on at all? And why put all this effort into this concept for this specific movie?
So there's a lot of ways that people could come out and take this kind of criticism.
Mean. You just said so many mean things. No.
Well, you know, for a video like this, a lot of people could come in, they could take it different ways. So some people could come in, they could be offended. Some people could come away saying, all right, you know what, maybe I didn't have a full grasp on that subject. Some people could even come in and take it from an egotistical standpoint. Well, you know what? To hell with that guy. Hey, they're talking about me. So, you know, no matter what they're saying, it's still about me. And there's many other ways in between that to take it. How did you take this?
Well, and I think you really nailed it there, too. There's so many ways you can take, and I don't know, to me, I know you can be, like, insulted, someone that doesn't, you know, like the work I put out there. First of all, I've been doing this 14 years. Majority of them get praise. I mean, if I'm gonna get upset, this one really, a lot of people didn't like it. I'm so fucking lucky. I mean, to be in this field where it's like, oh no, one that people really didn't like. But no, it's kind of like what we were talking about before, where even if somebody doesn't like it, they're still talking about it. I mean, so I'm talking about how a review can be like its own work of art. The same way, I mean, what that guy was saying sounded very intelligent. It sounded like he knew, it had a real passion for it and enjoyed talking about. A review of a review can also be its own work of art. I mean, that's really what I want to kind of get going. Now, for me, I like the review because I know what I was talking about, but I don't think I made it very clear because I wanted to be experimental like the film was, because I really liked the film. And I think my whole idea was sort of comparing like experiencing that film as a young man, like I did when I was younger. I was just very, wow, this is a mind-blowing film, holy smokes, the world's your oyster kind of thing. And then kind of as a cynical adult, like looking back, it's like, oh, what's he complaining about? God, everything's so black and white. There's literally cartoons of everything and stuff. And finding that in between where it's kind of like the pros are the cons are the pros, and it creates something that's really raw and really inspiring and really fascinating, and you can read different things into it. So I think I was trying to do something along those lines with the review to also be experimental, because I liked how he experimented in that movie. But there's still people that look at it and say, I'm so angry you didn't like The Wall. I'm like, I'm sorry, the point where I look at the camera and I say, I like The Wall, 3-0. but that's still on me. Because when you take a gamble, you're going to win or you're going to lose. And that's something where, I mean, financially we won because a lot of people check it out. There's always someone saying, go watch this YouTube and hate it, this video and hate it. It's like, oh no, don't do that. Don't give us the money. But no, you want people to look at and like it and enjoy your work, and you want to try and spread ideas and joy and stuff. And that one obviously got really taken in a direction that I was not intending, but that's part of putting yourself out there. Again, there's something to being a critic. There's a line in Ratatouille. You've seen that movie. I'm just saying the Pixar movie, right? The critic has a really great speech at the end And one of the lines that really stuck out to me, he said, "We risk very little as a critic," and that always stuck out to me. And I remember that, even though I love what critics do, I love talking about ideas and stuff like that, there is almost a legit point to that, because you kind of give your opinion and someone can either agree with you or disagree with you. I like the idea of putting something out there that is also a production, that I'm putting something out there that can also be reviewed. It's not something that's, oh, it's bulletproof because, it's a review. No, it can also be critiqued. The visuals can be critiqued. The ideas can be critiqued. The characters, the dialogue, the music as well. So for me, for people to get that passionate and talk about it, do you hope it's something they like? Yes, but even if it's something that they're just getting so passionate and they feel it's worth talking about, that to me is elevating what reviews can be and should be, which is a form of art, whether it's good art or bad art. So I personally don't take offense at something like that. I'm glad they're talking about it. I'm glad they're critiquing a critique. Like, that's, I don't know, maybe I'm a simple guy, but that's amazing to me. Like, I don't know, 14 years ago, I was living with my folks, and I was doing this, little, I'm the Nostalgia Critic, and nobody knew who I was. Nobody would care what I say. Now, when I do a video, there's other videos talking about it. And to me, that's saying, okay, reviewing has really reached a point where it is becoming like this work of art that can also be talked about. And that's more important to me than, like, my ego being bruised.
No, that's a great answer, and that's a very well balanced opinion to have about it. Like, hey, you put yourself out there, and what people take from it is what they get. That's actually really cool.
Absolutely.
So we have to talk about the controversy with Channel Awesome. Because I'm not, I'm not trying to do a got you with it. I mean, listen, it's because people they're gonna say, why did I dodge this question? Why did I not say anything? Even when I have, when I talk to Brad Jones or whatever, Channel Awesome gets brought up in the controversy, and I always, just don't get into it or anything. So it would be remiss for me not to bring it up right now, and I hope this doesn't offend you anything for me to bring it up. That's the last thing I want to do, is bring you on and make you feel like I'm putting you on the spot, which is not what I'm trying to do. But, I think a lot of people know the harshest criticism that you probably got in your career was probably from Channel Awesome, which was like 5-6 years ago, where they were saying that there was mismanagement, there was even sexist behavior that was going on. You did put out a response addressing every accusation at the time. You put the accusation out there, and then you put facts down there. Couple of things with this controversy that happened. How has Channel Awesome moved past that? And how have your feelings about this changed over the years? I mean, I know you have the responses that you did back in the day, but has anything changed? Have you felt like, well, maybe I'm more humble right now? Have you doubled down on the responses that you've given people? And just overall, how did you move forward?
I mean, it's always something where, you just gotta see it for what it is. And I think, for me anyway, and for all of us, we've tried the big thing that we always acknowledge, we were never that great at, was communication, because we had just God knows how many people in there, and we'd always have problems coming at us. And, I think we bit off more than we could chew, probably, with that. So there's a reason where after all that happened, we just kept everything in-house. I think one of the biggest criticisms we got, even with like the Wall review, which I think is fair, is that we tried to go too big. And I think there's really something to keeping it smaller, keeping it back to what it's about, which is, enjoying what you do and getting other people to enjoy what you do, making good connections with them and so forth. And it just kind of keeping that going. So it's one of those things where I really love the people I work with, and I really get along with. I'm so blessed to have, these folks I'm working with, and we try to learn from the things that we've done in the past. I mean, some of it I'm like, well, that, some of it's stuff that I'm like, I wish I didn't do that. And other things I'm like, well, that doesn't seem, like too big a deal. And people still kind of go back and forth on it. What's a big deal? What isn't? And so forth. But I think the big thing is not going too big, so you keep focus on what really is important, which is, the people that do work very hard for you, that you see, all the time, and try to treat them with as much respect as possible. And, people like Malcolm and Tamara and Walter, I mean, just so many good people that work with us, just trying to keep the focus on that and keep it on, the simple passion of what you're doing.
That's interesting what you're saying about kind of making it smaller, not, having these ambitions and being big, but, just pulling back a little bit. This is when you start doing this, you start making your money, and when the money starts coming in, you are a creator, but you're also at that point, you're a business person, you're a manager, you have to do something. I've been in the same position that you have, and again, this is not about me. It's, I'm not trying to, tell my story, but I do relate in a way, and I have to say that I too, after money was coming in and I started making a living with this and whatnot, and especially when I had to start managing this on my own, what I do for Double Toasted here, I also think I had ambitions and I went big, and I had to come back and say, all right, I admit that mistakes were made here. I did not probably know what I was doing here, or that this just got out of hand here. I just, but I've learned. Would you say that mistakes were made during this time when this came down, and has this made you a better business person?
Oh, I think, well, and let me tell you, I'm not a business person, and I don't handle like any of that, especially because I think that will get in the way of the creative stuff. But it is something where we knew even back then, and we tried to make it better, the communication thing, definitely. And part of that is because I think we were just getting bigger and bigger and bringing in more people. Like, it's a big party, everybody, come in kind of thing. And but you're gonna lose focus, and things are gonna, it fall between the cracks. And again, like, different people have different outlooks on it as well. So I think definitely with the people that we actually do see, it's not someone that they're miles away and we say, yeah, just make videos, do your thing. Yeah. I mean, and we'll post it. I mean, this is like people we actually see like in person, come and film with and make sure they're taken care of and stuff like that. Those are the connections where it's like, these are, the employees, these are the people we want to make sure they feel comfortable and they feel good around here. And I mean, I love them to death. They say they love us to death. So I mean, that seems like, we're doing okay.
Yeah. So you would just say that communication gets lost when you're working with people far away. Things get out of hand.
Not just far away, when there's a lot of them too.
Yeah.
I think that, again, I think it was something we were probably bringing in too many people, and we should, again, like, because everybody, you've seen online businesses like shut down because they were trying to get too big, and I really think a lot of it was we should have kept it smaller so that more flowing communication could be like within our means.
Yeah, I understand exactly where you're coming from, man. Maybe we're not doing exactly the same thing. Maybe we don't have exactly the same problems, but I think I've seen myself and other people. I think that's one of the mistakes that they've made, is that they've tried to bring in too many people. And it is sort of an ego boost when you have all these people and you say it seems like a big party. It makes it feel like this is something I created is so huge. And then, you just want to, and plus you just want people that you like to keep coming in. I definitely have seen that with a lot of people where it just got way too big and it all collapsed under the weight of itself.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think it is, it is something where you kind of realize that and you say, okay, I mean, again, especially the past couple years with like the COVID thing and stuff like that, where you kind of realize, okay, just keep it simple, keep it small, keep it to what it's really about, and keep focused on that. And the people that are, again, actually there helping you out, and you have a connection with and rapport with and stuff like that, like, make sure you're showing them as much love and respect as they're showing you.
Yeah, no, I understand where you're coming from. Couple of things before we go. Like many creators, you took a hit from the adpocalypse what was that, like 2016 or something? I actually remember you and your wife in a video, and I couldn't find a video, but you and your wife were talking about how much income was lost and how this was affecting you. What was it, 2016 or was it 2013? Anyway, this was a while back. You responded to it, and I want to ask you, now you hear new things coming up with YouTube. guidelines shifting, things changing, people again losing income because of strikes and whatnot, things that they just can't control. And then the lack of communication where they can't reach anybody and no one really, they feel like they're not being listened to. Other people say, hey, you know what? I'm fine with the way things are changing. It's no big deal. It's what happens. How do you feel how things have changed on YouTube and, with media overall? Have they gotten better? Have they gotten worse? From your personal perspective, how has it been?
Well, first of all, my wife has never been on camera, so I think that was someone else you were thinking of.
Oh, you know what? Maybe that was. Now we're even. Now, you thought you did an interview with me.
That's right.
And now I thought I saw a video with you.
No, before this started, I was like, we didn't do an interview before, right? Because I remember 9 years ago, I did a phone interview with a group of people that sounded very similar. I'm like, that wasn't you, right? Because I always said, yeah, I did Double Toasted a long time ago. I'm like, oh shit, maybe I haven't. So, okay, so there we go, man. Now we're even.
Now we're even, man.
The question you're talking about is a totally legit question. And I find it's one of those things you can only kind of answer at the moment because it does change so often. And it's hard to say because I have seen, I mean, we've been affected by, definitely like the algorithm and stuff like that, but we're still in a good enough spot where we don't live or die on the next video that comes out. You know what I mean? We have enough of a backlog, and thankfully people like watching the reviews again, because they're kind of their own little productions and stuff like that. So we're really fortunate with that. But we definitely seen people, it's like, man, this video needs to get at least half or minimum a third of the subscribers you have to, for the people to still make a living, and it's not doing that, in something that it should. But I mean, as you know, you're on YouTube as well. All sorts of problems keep popping up all over the place, and it's always one of those things where I go back and forth because on the one hand, I probably wouldn't have any of this if it wasn't for YouTube. I wouldn't be able to make a living doing this if it wasn't for YouTube. But of course, I see the problems as well and the things that affect us, and we try to roll with it. I'm one of those people where I always hear these stories out of Hollywood, about whatever censorship or the producers want this change and that change. So I always got it in my head I have to be adaptable anyway. So whatever new weird rule is coming along that they're either acknowledging exists or saying doesn't exist or not talking about at all, we try to work with it as best we can. And when something like, I think for a month, we went without money from YouTube because we just couldn't reach anyone. So we finally did a video about it, and suddenly they came calling like, hey, what's up? Kind of thing.
So you did do a video. I did see a video of you. I don't know why I thought your wife was in there, but you did do a video about it, right?
Yeah, where we talking about how, the reviews using clips were at fair use, and that was our biggest thing is getting, I'm sure you go through it too, getting copyright claims from bots or just people that abuse the system. And again, to the credit of them, after that video, some changes were made, but then other problems would pop up, and then keeping those changes still, going well and everything was also a major part of it. So, it's just one of those things where it's like, I think that's a lot of entertainment media. There's always going to be kind of a battling with, the people upstairs and how much do you fight, how much do you work with, and like anything else, we just try to create a balance, and just try to survive as best we can. I'm sure every YouTube channel is going through their own unique lineup of troubles,
I don't know why I thought your wife was in the video. I do, and I do remember you doing the video because I watched it. You were one of the first people that I saw admit, like, hey, we lost, a lot from, a month's worth of stuff here, and we took a hit.
That's one of the things too. We don't like doing videos like that, like drama videos, because there's again, as you know, there's tons of stuff that happens behind the scenes with YouTube and people out there. But you want to handle it yourself. You don't want to go on social media and have people get like outrage fatigue where they complain about something like every day, and it's like boy who cried wolf. It's like you only do it when there's like no other choice. And like I said, we went a month with nothing coming in because we just couldn't reach anybody. And then by posting that video, a lot of people said, yeah, I had this trouble too, me too, and so forth. So it's one of those things where, that did get attention. It's like, okay, there's a spotlight on it. They did make some changes. But as with any company, other problems are going to arise as well. And, you have to kind of pick your battles, like which one do you try to handle behind the scenes or which one do you go public about? We try to do it as much behind the scenes as possible, because I mean, there's enough people on, YouTube or whatever complaining about something or other. Again, social media, where someone's always complaining about something. But so we only try to keep it when there's like no other choice, like we just have to do this because this is really, really going to affect us.
Yeah. I'm one of those people who's been complaining lately. I'm not going to lie. I made a couple of videos.
I don't blame you. I mean, it's not like, man, I'm trying to find something wrong with YouTube and I can't find it. No, there's clearly a lot to talk about. And it can get frustrating because you'll post something that's like, well, this should clearly do well, whatever people have been asking for, and everything points to it's going to do well. And then something silly will, make it so it doesn't do well. I think we had one video where someone was like holding a cigarette in the thumbnail and it was getting like no views at all. It's like, oh, well, smoking in the thumbnail. We're like, so we had to go erase it out. So now he's just going like this, which looks really weird. So it's one of those things where you try to work with it. You hope they'll be more clear with stuff. But even when they are, YouTube's a big company, man. I mean, there's a lot going on. There's people like trying to handle as much as they can. So I get that as well. So it's tough. I'm definitely not going to act like I have the answers to it. Like you, I'll sort of point out when I see an issue. If I do have an answer, I'll try to suggest it. But I'm not behind the scenes. I have no idea what's going on over there. I'm just hoping that it can be, figured out as smoothly as possible.
Yeah, of course. My last thing here, and this is going to end on very much a positive, in a way. It might be a little bittersweet, but what you do, you could say it's kind of a family operation. You work with your brother, and you've even had the help of your parents. I think your mother's passed right now. Yeah. So, but you made a very sweet video, giving them a lot of respect and a lot of love for them helping you achieve what you have.
This is my mom and dad. They put so much effort into raising me because they are so awesome that way.
They're like, you damn right.
I love that look she gives. She's just like,
I'm looking at that. I didn't notice that. I was like, you're damn right we did.
This guy joined the Navy so he could help support and raise us, and my mom, she was going to be an opera singer. But she had 2 kids and said, you know what, I'm going to spend my life dedicated to that. And that is so unbelievable, and that is Christmas. There's such goodness. There's such goodness in these people. So, Dad, you got so many people watching right now. Is there anything you want to say to that guy with glasses audience on Christmas Eve here?
Merry Christmas to all of you. And most importantly, remember, we have lots of merchandise in the Channel Awesome Country Store.
So are you a
Why
dad?
did you say country? What does that mean? Country store? I don't think I ever noticed that.
Country
before.
store? Are you a dad?
No, I'm not. Well, unless you count my cats, which I don't.
Okay. All right. Do you ever want to be a dad?
I've thought about it. I grew up thinking I wanted to be a dad, but I am realizing more and more because I do really love this job, and I love the work I do, and it's so much fun that I like kids from a distance. I love it when like somebody brings their kids over and we can, have fun or whatever and play games and stuff. And that's like, and then you go back to your folks.
Yeah.
Like all the rough stuff is theirs. But at the same time, that gives me such an appreciation for parents. I mean, God, during COVID, whatever I'm going through during, quarantine and stuff like that. I mean, I'm just imagining people that have kids and how difficult that must be. So, I mean, and even taking that out of the equation, just being a parent in general is just so demanding, and there's, no manual for it. There's no instructions for it. I mean, you really just got to kind of figure it out, and you're going to make mistakes, but there's going to be wonderful stuff that comes from it as well. So, no, I always have mad respect for anyone that's a parent.
Nice. Very nice, man. That was very sweet of you to be that kind of your parents right there, man. But hey, you know what? This has been a pleasure, man, talking to you. I've really had so much fun listening to you, learned a lot. So, and it's always cool talking to somebody that does something similar to what you do. And I picked up on some things, man, I think would actually even make me improve as a creator myself after listening to you.
Oh, awesome. I mean, like I said, I love your guys' stuff, man. I mean, I'll tune in every once in a while and just have a a real good laugh. You got a good energy to y'all too, and you bounce stuff off each other. You just always have good comebacks and everything. So yeah, I mean, your stuff is wonderful as well.
Well, that's nice to hear, man. And again, that means a lot. So, hey, Doug, thank you so much, man, for taking the time out to do this.
Oh, absolutely, man. Thank you for having me.
All right, there you go. Well, you know what? You can stick around till I'm done, or you can go ahead and take off now. I know you're a busy person. So,
well, how much longer are you going?
like 1 minute.
Oh, yes. I'm not that busy.
Okay, yeah. 1 minute, people, to do my close again. This has been great talking to Doug. And I hope to actually, after talking with you, hope to meet you one day, man. Like I said, I've kind of met people that are or have been within your crew, and it's finally been, I made my way around to you. I hope to meet you personally again someday.
Yeah, no, that'd be awesome, man.
So, folks, I want to thank all of you out there for always listening and watching what we do. And I'm sure that we'll have somebody on very soon to talk to, somebody I admire as much as Doug over here. But when I'm not streaming, when I'm not talking to somebody I admire, when I'm not hanging out with you guys, doesn't mean I'm not thinking about you. I told you, I go to bed dreaming about you sometimes. So don't you ever hesitate to talk to me. kcoolmans@gmail.com. That's KCOOLMANZ @gmail.com. You email us with any kind of questions, compliments, insults, input, and or advice. Hit us up on the social medias, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Copy all that information down right there. Memorize it, love it, and use it. And if you happen to be in Austin, Texas, let us know. If we can, we'd like to come out and hang out with you. All right, everybody, that is it. Thank you so much. And we'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.